Hello, my beautiful people. All right, so we are here to look at active versus passive voice. I'm going to keep this short and sweet and just give you an explanation, the difference between the two, and show you some examples. What I'm using here today, I found it on the Purdue OWL website. This is a great resource. It's not only for MLA formatting. You can find quite a few resources on writing. So if you want to look at this further and maybe do some more practice, you can go there to find it. And I'll put a link on my webpage. Active versus passive voice. Active voice is basically the difference between the two is active is used for most non-scientific writing. Using active voice for the majority of your sentences, it makes your meaning clearer for the readers because it helps you prevents you from making your sentence too wordy, too long. Passive voice tends to be, the sentences are longer. So when we look at this first example, the entrance exam was failed by over 1/3 of the applicants to the school. This is an example of passive voice. The action is performed upon the sentence subject, meaning the sentence is passive. So the entrance exam was failed by over 1/3 of the applicants to the school. To make that active, we simply put the subject first in the sentence. Over 1/3 of the applicants to the school failed the entrance exam. It becomes active because now the subject is actually performing the action. Here, the action is performed upon the subject. There's a difference between those two. So let's look at a few other examples. The brakes were slammed on by her as the car sped downhill. This is passive, okay? And here's the active version of that. She slammed on the brakes as the car sped downhill. She is the subject in the sentence. We place that before the verb. It becomes active. All right. Let's look at some more sentences. Okay. So if we look at this sentence, action on the bill is being considered by the committee. To change that to active, I would write the committee is considering action on the bill. Do you see how we changed that up? Okay. Passive voice is not terrible. There's a time and a place for passive voice. The subject is acted upon. He or she receives the action. Sometimes we want passive because we want that structure. But we want to avoid passive voice because they can create awkward sentences. The reader can get lost within the sentence. We read from left to right. When we're reading a sentence, we are so used to seeing that subject first and then the verb second that when it is switched around within the sentence, the reader can oftentimes get lost within that sentence and we don't know who this is happening to or what's going on. So passive voice can be difficult to read. So when you're writing something like a literary analysis essay, it's important to use active because it's clearer. It's clearer for your audience. Again, the difference between the two. Active voice, the subject of the sentence performs the action expressed in the verb. The dog bit the boy. The dog is the subject and he did the action. The action is performed by the subject. In passive voice, The definition is that the subject is acted upon. He or she receives the action expressed by the verb. That's the main difference. When you see this word, when you see by in the sentence, oftentimes it's going to be in passive voice, and you need to fix that if you want to make it active. Okay, so what I'd like for you to do now that you've watched this video and you've looked at some examples, go to quill.org, log in, and I want you to complete the active versus passive voice assignments that I've put on there for you, that I have assigned you. So complete those. In those assignments, you have to take a passive voice sentence and turn it active. All right? Come back with that information and with questions, and we'll be working on this more in class. Okay. Thank you. Have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow.